pitching had as well. They gave a lot of free bases. Auburn hitting was really good too, but there was a lot of things that went right for Auburn, but in the end, those last 2 innings for Missouri kind of able to pull it out, scoring 6 runs over the last 2 innings and win it by 1 at home here in Game 1.
So here we go for Game 2. Chris Stanfield will lead off for Auburn. 76 degrees at first pitch. We're underway at 3:03 local time. Two balls, no strikes on Stanfield, who had a couple of hits last night, including his 3rd home run of the season.
I think it's really important for Losey to find the strike zone early. We saw Logan Lunsford walk a handful of guys, hit a couple batters, and in his start, the command just wasn't there, but I think it's got to be, and it starts with Losey finding that fastball. He sits low 90s with it, but has to locate it today.
Popped up into the bright sunshine. A high sky this afternoon. Culbert's in the catch, 1 away.
When it looks routine, it never is here at Taylor Stadium. We know how that wind can be a little tricky, but Culbertson that time able to easily make the play. Doesn't matter where you're at, infield, outfield, catcher, everybody. It's always tough, and especially when a ball hit that high. At some point, the wind will always play with it.
So now Irish coming off those 3 hits, including a homer and a triple in last night's 12-11 Mizzou victory. Shows bunt against the shift and takes a strike. When Missouri shifts, it does so fully and completely. Justin Colon, the third baseman, is playing what you would call a deep short with 3 infielders on the right side. Nobody close to third base. 1 ball, 1 strike. So you can see why Irish would consider the bunt. And as we've seen in past weekends, the attempt on the first pitch did nothing to shake Colon's positioning. Irish stabs it foul, 1-2. And that's the downside to having a power guy bunt. Now they've done Missouri a favor, putting Irish in a bad count.
That's a good point. I was going to say I don't hate the bunt. Obviously, it's not going to happen with 2 strikes now. But when Garcia or Colon is that far off a third, then there's so much space open. But now with 2 strikes, you really only give one of your best power hitters the opportunity to swing the bat once or have 1 strike.
1-2. Ike Irish has now played 100 games in an Auburn uniform. Not too bad.
.343 over 100 career games. Just a guy who's super consistent.
Swing and a miss on the slider. Losey takes a lot off that pitch, 77 miles an hour. And he had Irish out in front.
And that's the thing with it, the speed difference. That's a really good pitch because that fastball sits 91, 92, 93. When you're taking about 15 miles an hour off of it, it's really tricky for a hitter to be able to adjust to that. If you come with the fastball once and then you bring the off speed right after that, it's tough.
You can see on the replay, it's almost more of a slurve with how loose the break is. It's got a lot of loop to it compared to a conventional slider. 1 ball, no strikes on the senior catcher, Carter Wright. Second-year Tiger, spent a couple of JUCO seasons at Iowa Western. He loops one softly in a short right, out past the reach of Matt Garcia. And a 2-out single for Wright.
Well, how about that? Not in the lineup in Game 1. Right away, you find yourself in the 3-hole in Day 2. Top of the first inning, come up swinging right away, find yourself a base hit. Not hard hit by any means, but found some grass in the outfield. That'll get the job done.
In some ways, kind of a surprise that Wright wasn't in the lineup in the series opener. He had maybe the best weekend of his Auburn career in their last series against Ole Miss. Here's Cooper McMurray, who also homered in last night's series opener. Wright went 6 out of 12 against the Rebels, scored 4 runs. 4 of those hits were in the series opener. Did go 0 for 5 Tuesday against Georgia Tech, so Cale Strickland got the chance last night. Nothing in 2. Losey gets McMurray on 3 pitches. Couple of Ks for Ian Losey in the first inning. Daniels smokes one back up the middle, a base hit. First pitch single for Daniels to lead off the home first for Missouri.
It's a great job by Daniels. Ready to swing right away. Shoots it right back up the middle. Good effort there by Weiss at short, but couldn't quite get there on the dive. Good start for Missouri's offense, though. Leadoff man comes to the plate on the first pitch of the day, ready to swing the bat, gets himself a single.
Jackson Lovich settles in. He has that Bryson Stott walk-up music that achieved viral fame after the playoff homer he hit against Miami and Philadelphia last year.
Wasn't that awesome?
Doesn't get better.
Yeah.
0-2. Lovich did not have a hit in last night's Missouri win, but he did reach on a walk and a hit by pitch. Scored a couple of runs, drove one in. About as productive as one can be without a base hit. Got his cardio in too, chasing down all those home run balls. Swing and a miss, and Alsop comes back after the first pitch. Daniels base hit with a 3-pitch strikeout of Jackson Lovich.
It's a really good response. You give up a base hit on the first pitch that you throw of the day. It just has some sink on it there, gets him to chase it out of the zone on an 0-2 count. That's a really good 0-2 pitch. It's out of the zone, but it's competitive enough that you get the batter to go after it.
Trevor Austin. Daniels takes off. Breaking ball strike. Throw is high. Daniels is in and holds the bag. 11th steal for Daniels this year on 14 tries. He was thinking about it with Lovich up there and goes to the first pitch to Austin.
Yeah, he's a prototypical leadoff guy. He's got that. He's hitting for average, hitting over 300. He's got a couple home runs in the season. He can hit for power. He's got that speed where he can steal a bag. 11 stolen bases on the season. He's really only been playing for about the last 5 weeks.
He moves up aggressively on the wild pitch. It wasn't badly handled by Wright, but just squirted away on the first base side. And Daniels has picked up 180 feet on successive pitches and now sets up Austin, who handles the bat perhaps better than anyone in this Missouri lineup, with a chance to give Mizzou the first lead with a productive out.
Just takes enough of a hop away from Wright. And Daniels is aggressive on the bases with that speed. Smart play to get another 90 feet.
Austin out in front of the curve.
And the ways that you can score from third with one out compared to second from one out, there's just so many more ways. A ball bounces away from a catcher, a sacrifice fly, a shallow base hit into the outfield, an infield single. There's so many ways now.
Strike 3 call. Back-to-back punch-outs for Alsop. This one looking a big second out.
Right on the corner. And Wright may have framed that pretty well, too. It may have been just a tad off the outside corner, but I think with 2 strikes, that's close enough that you got to go after it if you're Trevor Austin.
Here's JDR Hernandez. Big cut himself at a breaking ball. Alsop seems to have that idea well engaged in this first inning. Smothered by Wright, 1-1.
Hernandez had a great day yesterday. We just flashed up the 3 hits, but he had back-to-back at-bats in the 7th and 8th inning with an RBI single, and that was a part of that 6-run come-from-behind win for the Tigers late in the game. He was really clutch in his last 2 at-bats.
Sliced down the right side, foul and out of play toward the Auburn bullpen. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Hernandez, who's just a tenacious player in every regard. High intensity all the time, and he keeps up that intensity physically, mentally, emotionally, despite catching every game.
Yeah, he's always showing some emotion on walks even, just trying to get the dugout into the game at all times.
Rolled to short for Weiss. Missouri strands Brock Daniels at third after a leadoff single.
5 of the top 8 teams in the country are first 5 weeks of SEC play. That is just a difficult start.
Speaking of difficult, Culbertson ranging into the hole, then beats the fleet-footed Weiss by at least a full step. Drew Culbertson made that look smooth.
And I realize that the last thing Auburn fans sitting at home want to hear about are moral victories, and so that's not what I'm trying to make this into, but they've lost so many 1 and 2 run games as well. They have played close game after close game. Last night was the example of that, and a 1-run loss again. They've had so many of those this year. The schedule, everyone plays difficult schedule in the SEC, but that feels even more so when 5 of the top 8 teams in the first 5 weeks.
Ballou pops it up. This is always an adventure, and Corona makes the catch. 2 men away in the 2nd inning. Ballou still hitless in the series, now 0 for 7. Brings up Caden Green. Auburn 3-9 in 1-run games. To your point, it's also the 2-run game. So 13 of Auburn's 21 SEC losses have come by 2 runs or fewer, including 7 of the last 9. Missouri, of course, has been much better in 1-run games. And I think, to your point about last night being another one in that trend of close Auburn losses, and at the same time, Auburn fans understandably were not wanting to hear a lot about moral victories, I think maybe last night's game encapsulates that.
Yes.
On the one hand, Auburn a little bit unlucky to lose a 1-run game. You always are to lose a 1-run game. Those could go either way. On the other hand, they were the architects of their own demise.
Yeah, when you're up 5 runs going into the bottom of the 7th inning, you should never lose that kind of game. You shouldn't give up 6 runs in the last 2 innings. So you're right. I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, oh, another one run loss. But you're right. You shouldn't have been in that position to begin with.
1 ball, 1 strike on Green. Losey looking for a 1-2-3 inning. Been very hard to come by in this series. In fact, I don't think Missouri pitching had one the entire way last night. Tim Jamison, Missouri's pitching coach in his first year back on the staff in Columbia. 2-2. And of course, we talked about it consistently throughout this season, every weekend series for Missouri, because of the relative lack of pitching depth that Mizzou has compared to almost every other team in the league. It's important not only to be effective, but to be efficient, and Losey has been efficient so far. Green rips it to short. Backhand stab off a single hop by Culbertson, and a 1-2-3 inning for Losey. Just 21 pitches through 6 outs. In the first.
And that was after giving up a leadoff single on the first pitch of the day, too, and a stolen base for Brock Daniels. Then he advanced to third on a wild pitch and a couple strikeouts.
1 ball, 1 strike on Danny Corona. Came in with high expectations, understandably, after he played a big role for the Omaha-bound Wake Forest Demon Deacons, who were, for stretches of last year in college baseball, alongside Paul Skeens and LSU, the biggest story in the country.
Paul Skeens is a pretty big story today.
Making his Major League debut for the Pirates as we speak. Working in the 2nd inning at PNC Park against the Cubs. Pretty cool to see that ballpark full. Obviously really passionate sports fans in Pittsburgh, but understandably it doesn't always translate to PNC Park the same way it does other venues. Corona got off to just a really frustrating start in black and gold. OPS was down in the 500s, even the 400s for stretches of this season. It resulted in a lengthy absence. To the point, it was almost like where in the world is Danny Corona for a while.
Yeah, there was a time about 3 weeks ago where his batting average was hanging around in the 150s, 160s.
Works a walk, and that's a big part of what's changed. Kerry Jackson wanted to see a commitment to the approach. You know, even last night, Corona had a couple of hits. He ripped a line drive double. Then at the same time, you could see him maybe over-swinging in a couple of situations at sliders when really Mizzou needed a ball put in play. So he still fights it a little bit, but when the approach is right, Danny Corona is as good a natural hitter as there is on this roster, and probably one of the better ones in the SEC.
And you talk about the approach, and Coach said he had a conversation with him not too long ago that he felt like Corona came in being a guy who played in Omaha last year, had a really good season for Wake Forest, that he felt like he had to be the guy on a team that was young and inexperienced and didn't have a lot of guys returning from last year's team. And he said, we don't need you to do that. We just need you to show up and be who you are. And since that conversation, it's kind of been a lot different for Corona over the last 3 weeks or so.
Corona at first after that leadoff walk. Of course, free bases for both teams, especially given up by Missouri pitching. A dominant storyline last night in the series opener. 2 balls, 1 strike on Mateo Cerna. Kind of mirrors the conversation, or at least harkens back to the conversation he had with Trevor Austin, saying something similar, that all Missouri needs is for Austin to be Austin, not to be anybody more or less than that.
Well, Trevor Austin was really the only guy that had a lot of experience last year that came back. And so you could kind of understand where that was coming from him, where he felt like he had to be that centerpiece of the team, that he had to be the leader. And, of course, you want a guy like Trevor Austin to be a leader, to be a captain. But, again, when you're pressing, that's when the production starts going down.
Alsop's 2-2 delivery. Just off. Corona breaks for second. Sort of fouls it back to the screen. Another payoff. Corona breaks again. Sort of takes strike 3 called, and Wright pump fakes on the throw down to second. Maybe he didn't think he had a chance. That's just the second steal for Corona this year. 1 away. We talked about it in the context yesterday of J.D. Hernandez throwing through after ball 4. There's no upside to that. I wonder if Wright thought this was going to be ball 4 and decided not to throw it.
That's what I think, too, because I was wondering maybe he bobbled it a little bit, but that wasn't the case. You could see there he came up cleanly on the transfer with it, and I think he thought, that ball's out of the zone. I'm not getting a call there. And I do think it was probably a little bit inside there. I think it probably should have been ball 4, but it wasn't, and I think that might have been why Wright didn't throw down. He didn't think he was going to get the call.
To our conversation yesterday, it shows how tricky that can be for a catcher. He essentially has to make the call himself or predict what it's going to be. The strike to Matt Garcia to even the count, because we at least softly criticize Hernandez for that. If you know it's ball 4, obviously you'd rather not throw a ball all the way down to second base when there's no upside at all, and still the downside of throwing it into center field. This is sort of the opposite.
And you really only have a split second to make that decision, because your instinct is every time you see a runner go, you're going to hop up and be in a motion to throw. And if you can hear the umpire say ball 4, then maybe you can stop your throw. But I just don't know that you have that much time, because all your momentum is heading that way, because a catcher's instinct is, I'm throwing down to get this guy trying to steal.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Matt Garcia. A runner in scoring position for Missouri for the second time in as many innings. Corona takes off for third, and Garcia spoils it out of play. Corona had just one steal on one attempt coming into this game. He has swiped second already, and he thought, you know, that was a good time.
I got some wheels on me. I'm so fast they didn't even throw down to second last time.
Eric Jackson's Tigers are often aggressive on the bases. Goes full on Garcia. Also having to work a lot harder in this second inning. He threw only 12 pitches in the first. This will be number 20 already in the second. And the 7th to Garcia on the way. Instead, a check on Corona.
Almost got him, pitch.
Garcia had just the one hit last night, but it was a big one. 2 out, 3-run bases clearing double off the base of the wall in left field. Put Missouri from 11-9 down to 12-11 up in the bottom of the 8th. And in the end, that was all that Bryce Mayer needed in what was, by yesterday's standards, a rather smooth 9th inning. Garcia went around. Michael Phillips, the third base umpire, punches him out. Garcia is the third Alsip strikeout victim and the second out in the second inning.
Yeah, we'll see here. I think he went around, and he certainly did. That is way more than halfway around for Garcia. It's the right call.
I do like the finger waggle, though.
Yeah. Nope, I didn't swing.
Corona at second with 2 men away. Drew Culbertson takes a strike. Alsip has not been afraid at all to go to the breaking ball on the first pitch. He's gotten a few swings and misses on it. Culbertson reached twice last night. Single and a hit by pitch. The single jump-started things for Mizzou in the second inning. 2-strike line drive down the right side. Set up Justin Colon on deck for his second home run of the season. Put Mizzou up 2-0. And a game that was topsy-turvy all the way through. Two and two.
Hasn't been the most efficient inning so far for Alsip, throwing a lot of pitches, but you got the opportunity here. 2 strikes, 2 outs, strand another Missouri runner in scoring position.
That'll get out of play. Alsip again with a 2-2. Swing and a miss on an elevated fastball. A pair of Ks in both innings for Alsip, and Missouri strands another in scoring position. Maynard shows bunt, takes ball 1.
Last night was crucial for Missouri. You get that come from behind win, and LSU loses, so only 1 game back of that final spot. Now LSU does hold the tiebreaker against Mizzou, having took 2 of the 3 games, but still with 5 games left in the regular season, you're in a spot to realistically get yourself to Hoover.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing for Missouri was Ole Miss coming from behind in the late innings to beat Texas A&M. 2-0 to Mason Mainers on the way. Stabs and misses, 2-1. Because Ole Miss would be, in some ways, the easier team to catch to that point. Though we'd have to look very deep into the tiebreaker permutations, because Missouri and Ole Miss have not and will not meet head-to-head this year. On that SEC scoreboard, Florida already hammered Kentucky and Gainesville earlier today, 10-1 for the Gators over the 4th-ranked Wildcats. who were perhaps fortunate to survive by 1 run in extra innings yesterday. South Carolina up 6-4 on Georgia in the 7th. Vanderbilt a 3-2 lead at home over Tennessee in the 5th. Game 2 between LSU and Alabama will be on SEC Network Plus from Tuscaloosa coming up at the top of the hour. Same story for A&M at Ole Miss in Game 2. Those are the two to keep an eye on for Missouri. Just miss a leadoff walk, and Losey puts Mainers aboard to start the 3rd inning. Elsewhere on the SEC Network and ESPN app tonight, 6 Eastern, 5 Central, the final 4 hours of the SEC Outdoor Track and Field Championships coming to you from Gainesville. All the top runners squaring off in the finals, individual team titles. Of course, Arkansas the dominant team in that regard. 3-time defending champions on the men's side. Won 2 of 3, including last year on the women's side. That's 6 Eastern, 5 Central, the SEC Network. Here's Eric Guevara. Losey's already thrown 8 pitches in this inning through just 21 in the first 2 combined. It was a good plate appearance for Mainers, very productive to work his way on to lead off the inning.
Guevara had a good day yesterday, too, at the bottom of the order. And he came up big with a 2 RBI double, or 2 RBI single as a part of that 6-run inning in the 7th inning, and gave Auburn a little bit of a cushion. You thought they might cruise to the win before Missouri had that comeback in them.
Yeah, until Missouri came all the way back. Technically, Guevara had the game-winning hit. Yeah. That scored the first 2 runs of that big 7th inning for the visitors. Made it 7-6 at the time. Ike Irish, a couple of batters later, had the 3-run triple that stretched it out. Mainers breaks. Guevara fouls. Mainers will have to retreat. Guevara officially 2 for 3 with a couple of RBIs. He was also plunked twice. One, 2 again. Mainers takes off, pitches high. Hernandez's throw on the bag. Mainers is safe, and he just kept the fingertips of his left hand on the edge of the bag.
I think if this throw is a little bit better and Garcia doesn't have to reach to the other side, they probably have him, but instead he has to go all the way to the right side of his body and just gets the hand in there. It's a nice job by Mainers.
Swing and a miss by Guevara. So Losey wins an extended battle with Guevara after losing it to Mainers. One away in this 3rd inning, but he'll have to deal with the top of the Auburn lineup. And Mainers remains in scoring position.
The yard, one guy after another.
He popped up to short, leading off the game. The pace has slowed down a little bit for Losey in the 3rd. Certainly wouldn't want to put Stanfield on for free with Ike Irish looming on deck.
Losi was so good the first couple innings. He was not getting behind hitters. He was working ahead. He was pitching to contact, letting the defense behind him do the work. Only 21 pitches in the first 2 innings combined, but he's getting behind these batters early today in the 3rd inning.
And a 4-pitch walk. 21 pitches the first 2 innings, 17 in this 3rd, and unsurprisingly,
4th or 5th inning, then yeah, bring him in because that's your guy and you can potentially save another win. I'm not saying it's a bad decision either. It's still obviously very high leverage if it's a tie game. Need as many wins as you can possibly get the last couple weeks before the SEC tournament to try to get to the SEC tournament, so I can understand it from that viewpoint as well.
So Losi has missed with 6 in a row since the strikeout of Guevara. He struck out Irish in the 1st, and he gets to 2-1. Big cut by Irish. 2 balls and 2 strikes. You have to wonder, too, especially since Rustad hasn't actually started throwing yet, if Irish did go deep here, would that affect the calculus?
I think it would. If you're down 3-0, I don't think you bring Carter Rustad in. You save him for tomorrow.
Top softly up first and rolls foul.
Or until you get to the point, if you're 4th, 5th inning, 6th inning, if Missouri comes back and takes a lead, then again, clearly that's a situation for Rustad. But anytime you're down, especially if it's more than 1 run, I don't think that's the right time to bring in Rustad.
Mainers at second, Stanfield at first. Both walked. Two and 2 pitch to Irish. To the left side, past the diving Cologne. In comes Mainers to score an RBI single for Ike Irish, who's driven in 5 runs this weekend already, and Auburn strikes first in game 2.
Just a great job by Irish, who had 3 hits yesterday, a double shy of the cycle. We saw the pop in the bat. He had a lot of power. This isn't power whatsoever, but it's going with the pitch that was on the outer half of the plate to tag it into the opposite field. And wasn't hit super hard, so plenty of time for Mainers to go from second to home on the base hit.
Here's Carter Wright. Still 2 on, still 1 out. Fisted into short right. Long run for Garcia. He can't get there. Fires to second where Irish beats the play. Carter Wright stays hot. A couple of softly hit singles into shallow right for Carter in his many at-bats, and he loads the bases for Auburn.
It looked almost the same way the first inning did, and almost in the same exact spot too. Just a shallow blooper into right field, but in the perfect spot for it to be a base hit. Both runners kind of had to hold because they weren't sure if Garcia was going to make the play. So that's kind of the one bright spot for Missouri there, is that Stanfield wasn't able to score, but bases loaded, only 1 out here for your cleanup hitter, Cooper McMurray.
Ooh, tough strike. McMurray didn't love that one. Struck out his first time. He also had one of those 3 home runs in a 4-batter span in the top of the 4th for Auburn. That took the game from 2-2 to a 5-2 lead. And Losi's 2-strike offering. McMurray lunges to stay alive.
It's a good battle by McMurray with 2 strikes against you. He knew that that ball was out of the zone, but it's one of those protective swings and has been so good in these situations, hitting almost 600 when he's got bases loaded on the year. He has been clutch in clutch moments.
Strike 3 called. McMurray goes down on strikes for the 2nd time in his many trips against Losey. 2 away.
Kind of just froze him. That was in the zone. I think McMurray again didn't love the call, but I don't know if that was maybe more frustration with him.
Just to face him. Bases loaded for Auburn with 2 men out. 1 run has come in on the RBI single by Ike Irish, his 4th hit and 5th RBI already this weekend. One ball, 1 strike on the grad transfer Weiss from Fort Myers, Florida, by way of Coastal Carolina for 3 years and Miami, Ohio for 1. Had 2 hits in 11 trips against Ole Miss last weekend. 1 for 3 with a pair of walks last night in the series opener, hitting 3rd. He's in the 5 spot now. Rustad's 1-2 pitch. Weiss takes strike 3. Rustad con 1-0 though to the home 3rd after Ike Irish yet again did some damage in the top of this inning. But Auburn left the bases loaded. Now 9-1-2 for Missouri, trying to answer. Justin Colon the first. Hard hit to 3rd, handled cleanly by Guevara. 1 away. Only the 2nd out on a ball in play for Missouri in this game. Alsop has 5 strikeouts. He has allowed Mizzou to put a runner in scoring position in each of the first 2 innings. Daniel stranded at 3rd in the 1st, Corona at 2nd in the 2nd.
And he's a strikeout pitcher, so this is nothing new for him. 9 strikeouts, a season high his last time out against Ole Miss last week. And then in a midweek the week before against Florida A&M, struck out 8. So, I mean, that's kind of been his thing. He can hit the strike zone. He's got a fastball that pretty consistently sits 94, 95, tops out at 97. Not easy to catch up to. And then when he mixes speeds as well, it becomes even more difficult.
Bunt by Daniels. Guevara on the run. Made it look easy. Hard hit, soft hit, doesn't matter. Eric Guevara is going to make the play.
It's a guy who's coming off ACL surgery. Tore his ACL in October, only sat out 5.5 months from surgery to making his college debut. We talked about that story last night, which is just absolutely remarkable. They're testing him out early, these Mizzou hitters are, squaring around to bunt, force him to charge in, make a play, but it is no problem for Guevara.
Ball 1 to Jackson Lovich. Still the search for both pitchers for that elusive 1-2-3 inning, or rather for Alsop, I should say, because Losey did get that quick one in the 2nd inning. The first for Missouri pitching this weekend. But a smooth response inning, exactly what Alsop needed, both to maintain the lead and to keep that pitch count under control. As Auburn burned through some bullpen options in last night's eventual loss. Lovich was the first of the 5 Alsop strikeout victims. Swing and a miss. Lovich strikes out again. A half dozen for all.
The order, how can you generate offense against him?
Make him throw it in the zone.
Coach, we appreciate your time as always.
Thank you, MIZ.
Carrick Jackson visiting with us as we go to the 4th inning with 6, 7, and 8 scheduled for Auburn. Cade Ballou, Caden Green, And Mason Mainers against Carter Rustad. We got that big strikeout to leave the bases loaded in the third. Ballou skies it into deep right center. Austin going back. Stops on the track. Looks up. It is out of here. Cade Ballou hitless in his first 7 trips this weekend. Got that one in the jet stream, and it carried all the way out to double Auburn's lead.
Off the bat, I don't know that too many people were expecting that one to leave the yard, but it just kept carrying and carrying and carrying. It got up high enough in the air, the wind pushed it out, and just enough for Ballou to leave the yard, and Auburn's got themselves a 2-0 lead.
Strike one to Caden Green. Ballou's 19-game on-base streak came to a close yesterday, but I don't think he misses that too much at this moment. 5th home run of the season for the freshman, who has really impressed. It's a stronger win today than we've seen the last couple of weekends. On those flags over in right field really indicate more of a cross breeze, but the flags in left center are blowing almost straight out to straightaway right. So Ballou put it in the right place. Austin looked like he thought he was camping under it, even on the edge of the warning track. Green just got a piece, still 2-2. Two again. Big statement for Auburn as well. Ballou to hit that home run as just the second batter to face Rustad after he came in sort of asserting his reputation, leaving the bases loaded the way he did, getting the strikeout.
And I think as a whole for Auburn, this is kind of making a statement to start this game. To be quite honest, they don't really have much to play for the rest of the season. They're eliminated from a chance to make the SEC tournament. Of course, guys have the opportunities to make a statement going into the offseason, opportunities to get more at-bats, to see what they can do in the offseason into next year. But for the most part,
smoked into right center. Austin over to cut it off. Green takes a wide turn but holds with a single. So back-to-back hits from the 6-7 men in Auburn's lineup against Rustad to start the fourth.
And a really good battle, too, to work that count full, to battle off a couple pitches. Finally got one that he liked. Base knock into right field.
Here's Mason Mainers. Mainers shows bunt, back to Rustad. He'll go to first, 1-3 on the sacrifice. And it pushes Green into scoring position with one man out for the number 9 batter, Eric Guevara.
Trying to manufacture some more runs here for Auburn. It's early in this one in a game that ended up being 12-11. There was a lot of offense yesterday, but here you get a 2-0 lead. Trying to keep pushing runs across early in the game.
We'll talk to Butch Thompson coming up before the bottom of the fourth. Guevara loops it over Culbertson at short. Green can only move up to third. He had to go back to second base and make sure that got over Culbertson. So Guevara has another base hit. Auburn has him on the corners for the leadoff man, Stanfield.
The 6 through 9 hitters for Auburn, each of these guys have been on base once their first time, 2 times through the order. You've got the home run for Ballou, single for Green, now single for Guevara. You had the walk and a run score for Mainers his first time up. He just had a productive out with the sac bunt as well. So bottom of the order coming through right now for Auburn.
Stanfield 0 for 1 with a walk. Bounce toward the middle. Garcia knocks it down, steps on the bag, scooped out by Corona, double play. Auburn come to a close 0 for 6 yesterday, kind of a frustrating night for him. How good was it for you to see that ball fly out of the ballpark and continue what's been a great last couple of months for him?
Yeah, he's played great when he's got the opportunity. He's a young player and keeps swinging.
Coach Chase Alsop, 5 strikeouts the first time through the order. What's made him most effective today?
I thought his fastball has played well. I think his fastball has given him some length, and he's shown enough command. I think he had a walk there, but I absolutely think he's thrown it in the zone, and I think the fastball's had a good gear to it today.
We appreciate you, Coach. Best of luck.
Thank you.
2-0 Auburn into the bottom of the 4th. Alsop works to the middle of Missouri's lineup. 2 balls and no strikes on Trevor Austin, who struck out looking his first time. He'll be followed by Jadier Hernandez and Danny Corona. What a big double play, though, turned by Missouri at the end of that 4th inning. Still, Auburn puts up a run. But runners on the corners, 1 out. Not only a double play to get out of it, but a double play on a hard hit ball that Garcia did not handle cleanly, but he was able to knock it down and then climb back to his feet. Off balance, make the throw to first, then scooped out by Corona as well, who hasn't been at first base for a couple of weeks.
Right, that's kind of the important piece, I think, for me, is it's been a while since Corona's been at first. He was tested, a big moment there. It saved a run.
Austin hit by the pitch. He has been a ball magnet in his Missouri career. And Missouri will take a leadoff base runner any which way. The Black and Gold Tigers have just 1 hit so far in this game. It's only their 3rd base runner. They did put a man in scoring position in each of the first 2 innings, but left Daniels at 3rd and Corona at 2nd, respectively. Now Hernandez shows bunt. Takes high. He bounced to the shortstop Weiss his first time. After he showed bunt on the first pitch, Guevara, the 3rd baseman, came way in. High and tight, ball 2. Austin has not stolen a base. He's at first. He is 0 for 4. Was caught stealing 4 times in the early part of the season and has not tried another one for quite some time.
Don't think I'd blame him.
Certainly it would be a surprise now at 3-0 to see Missouri putting anything on. An Ike Irish RBI single in the 3rd, a Cade Ballou solo homer in the 4th. Now, we've talked about Hernandez and what a high energy player he is, how passionate, how much he brings to the clubhouse, to the dugout, fueling Missouri's confidence, a team that has to provide its confidence internally because the outside world usually will not. Hasn't always been like that, though, for Hernandez. He's transferred from Seton Hall, where he spent the last couple of years. Bounced to short. Weiss goes to 2nd for 1. Green's relay double play. Auburn gets a big one of its own after an inauspicious start to the inning.
Weiss just as sure-handed as it is. At short, easy play. That was close to 2nd base, so just a quick flip. Good turn for Green. Wipes away that leadoff runner.
Because Austin was on, and then it was 3-0 on Hernandez as well. That's about as tailor-made as it gets, especially with Hernandez, who does a lot of things well, but run is not at the top of the list. A 1 ball, no strikes on Danny Corona, who took a walk his first time. And to our conversation about approach being maybe the most important thing for any hitter, especially Danny Corona, that walk definitely looked good to Carrick Jackson and his staff. Driven into right center. Stanfield on the run. It's down in front of him. Corona holds with a 2-out single. He's aboard for the 2nd time today and the 4th time in this series.
Just a lot of things going well for him right now. He is swinging the bat well. He got the walk the first time up that you talked about. He's been on base a ton. A lot of it's coming with base hits. Laces that one into right center field. Just missed being in the gap. It's a nice job by Stanfield to get over there quickly, cut it off, and keep it at a single. But Danny Corona's hot stretch of about 3-4 weeks now, it just continues.
Mateo Cerna fouls it away 0-2. Look alive in the dugout, even in the on-deck circle. Swing and a miss by Cerna. He strikes out for a 2nd time. Allsup escapes 7. Mizzou only has 1 SEC championship in a team sport. Ike Irish to deep center. Lovich leaps, and it is gone. Another homer for Ike Irish. His 2nd home run, his 5th hit, his 6th RBI this weekend, and it's 3-0 Auburn in the 5th inning.
What a weekend this guy's having. Back-to-back days with a home run already. He's driven in 2 of the 3 runs for Auburn today. He is hitting the ball all over the park the first 2 days of this series. 3-hit day yesterday was just a double shy of the cycle. He's got a homer and a single today.
One ball, no strikes on Carter Wright. Went after a high fastball. That foul tip caught a piece of JDR Hernandez. Good effort by Jackson Lovich, to be fair. He did get way up
Yeah, he did.
above the center field fence, but still not all that close to it. To that point, before Irish so rudely interrupted me, Missouri only has 1 SEC championship in a team sport since joining the league in the summer of 2012, and it was the very first year. In fact, the very first semester Mizzou was in the SEC. Tigers won the SEC volleyball championship behind Carly Kahn. Swing or strike 3 looking, taken by Wright. 1 away in the 5th inning. Was when Wayne and Susan Krecklow were still leading Missouri's volleyball program. Looking for their first SEC team title in more than a decade. Down at Jane B. Moore Field in Auburn today. Here's McMurray. So Missouri fans will be keeping an eye. They're busy right now. This is not just a second screen. This is maybe a 3rd, 4th screen, because you got softball, got this game, and then LSU, Alabama, plus Texas A&M, Ole Miss getting underway, and both of those games are of concern to Mizzou on the baseball side. Grounder towards shortstop, but it's the 3rd baseman Cologne shifted over, and he rockets a throw to beat McMurray for the 2nd out. Speaking of baseball, tripleheader coming up in Oxford, 6 Eastern, 5 Central on the SEC Network and the ESPN app. on that out-of-town SEC scoreboard. Georgia has come from behind to go up 11-6 in the ninth inning in the other Columbia over South Carolina. Tennessee has come from behind to go up 6-3 on Vanderbilt in the sixth inning, trying to clinch that series. No score between Texas A&M and Ole Miss just underway. Didn't miss by much. 2 balls and a strike on Weiss. He has grounded to short and struck out looking. Two. Weiss fouls it away. Auburn has added 2 runs off of Carter Rustad, a pair of leadoff solo homers. Ballou in the 4th and Irish in the 5th. They've also made Rustad throw 35 pitches, counting this one on the way, through 2 innings.
It's a really good hold. Couple pitches in a row that Weiss went after, fouled off one with 2 strikes, and that one just out of the zone, able to hold the hands and not go after it.
Eighth pitch from Rustad to Weiss. And he will see a 9th.
Just all around great approach here from Weiss with 2 strikes. Anything that's close, going after it, knowing that he's maybe not necessarily going to do anything great with it, but just spoil a pitch off and make sure he sees another.
Foul tipped into the mitt of Hernandez, strike 3. Carter Rustad gets his 3rd strikeout to get through 2 run in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th innings, respectively. The last 2 on leadoff solo homers against Missouri reliever Carter Rustad. Cade Ballou in the 4th. Ike Irish, he had another big hit in this series in the 5th. Meanwhile, Chase Alsop has been in command for the visitors. He's allowed 2 hits and a walk. He's hit 1 over 4 innings and has punched out 7. Two balls, 1 strike on Matt Garcia. The bottom 3rd of Missouri's order due up against Alsop in this 5th inning. Drew Culbertson, Justin Colon to follow. Garcia had a strikeout his first time. 1 out of 6 now on the weekend, but the one was awfully big. 2-out, 3-run double in the 8th inning to put Mizzou up last night. Foul tip back into right's mitt. An 8th strikeout for Alsop, closing in on those 9 he had out of the bullpen last weekend against Ole Miss.
Well, it makes it the 3rd straight start that he's had at least 8 too, because he had 8 against Florida A&M 2 starts ago. He's just been attacking the strike zone with that fastball, and Missouri hitters have not been able to catch up to it. It's sitting mid-90s at all times and can get up into the high 90s when he's topping out on that fastball, and those Missouri hitters have just been behind it all day today.
Ball 1 to Drew Culbertson, who struck out his first time. Two balls and a strike. Up high and it's full. Popped up out of play.
Culbertson's been swinging the bat really well recently, too. Guy at the bottom of the order that you can tell as a true freshman is just getting more and more comfortable as his freshman season starts to wind down.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Alsop matches his season high with 9 Ks. And he set down both Garcia and Culbertson after long battles.
And 3 straight dating back to the end of last inning against Mateo Serna. It's just been a lot of gas from him. I mean, he's mixing speeds. He's not been predictable, but at the same time, that fastball, I mean, until Missouri hitters can get to it, you might as well keep throwing it, especially with 2 strikes.
9 strikeouts, a great number. But it doesn't quite feel the same as 10, does it? Double digits. There's something special about that, and Alsop has never gotten there in an Auburn uniform. 1-0 to Justin Colon. Is a strike. Alsop has kept the pitch count under control as well. You'd think he would have at least 1 more in him as it stands. Colon held up, according to our first base umpire, Michael Carroll. Crew chief down at first, who hasn't had to be involved in any reviews so far. We had a few of them yesterday. Mr. Carroll was at second. He will have the plate for the finale tomorrow afternoon. A soft slicer into shallow right for a base hit. Just Missouri's 3rd. Colon has at least put the ball in play both times.
He also had a 2-hit game last night in game 1 of the series, too. So that's the kind of production you love to get from your 9-hole hitter. 3 hits now on the weekend for him. That's your job. It doesn't matter if it's a base hit, a walk, a hit by pitch. When you're hitting in the 9-hole, your job is whatever you got to do to get on base, let the top of the order come up behind you. And I think Justin Colon has done that perfectly this weekend.
And Daniels hit by the pitch. The second batter Alsop has plunked in this game. All of a sudden, 2 on for Mizzou, and Jackson Lovich coming up. Really, it's that 6, 7, 8 stretch where Alsop has truly dominated. He struck them out all 6 of their combined at-bats. Colon has been on once in the 9-hole, Daniels twice leading off. Lovich is the other one who has struck out twice. 4 players from Missouri have started 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. Pitching coach Everett Tiefert is going to go out. Alsop and Lovich are ready. 2 on, 2 out. Oh, and 2. Lovich just does stay alive.
Struck out his first 2 times against Alsop. A lot of guys have done that on a 9 strikeout day so far. That kind of speaks volumes for what the day was yesterday in a 1-run win for Missouri. Hitting almost 400 with 2 outs, drove in 7 runs.
Just wide of third. Nice play by Guevara. Would have been a long throw to get Lovich if he had been getting down the line. But Guevara fielded that a good 3, 4, 5 feet wide of the foul line range and then some. Oh, 2 again. So Lovich will see an 8th pitch, despite the fact that every single one has been a strike.
An 0-2 count, just battling right now. It feels like it's made this at-bat even bigger. We talked about it before this at-bat started. A couple guys on base. You haven't scored yet today. Opportunity to do that for the first time, and now that he's foul ball after foul ball. This is a fantastic at-bat.
And Alsop's going to have to throw his 90th pitch now. There has been action in the Auburn bullpen. Lovich left side and throw. Colon races around third. He will score. A 2-out RBI single for Jackson Lovich. 9 pitches in the at-bat, all strikes, and finally one of those foul balls found fair territory and a hole to get Missouri on the board.
7 foul balls in this at-bat, and on the 9th pitch of the at-bat, Lovich finds a hole on the left side of the infield. That is an incredible at-bat, as good as they come for Lovich.
Now it's Trevor Austin. It's a sign maybe that Alsop's starting to tire, because he had pretty thoroughly dominated Lovich across their first couple of meetings today.
You know, the first 2 batters of this inning went strikeout, strikeout. Since then, he's gone single, hit by pitch, single. So, and you're into the 3rd time through the lineup now as well, which I think that changes a lot of things. First time through the order, that's always advantage pitcher. Now you start figuring out as a batter the 2nd time through, and now the 3rd time through the order, even more so advantage hitter as they can make adjustments.
Austin struck out looking in the 1st inning. He was hit by a pitch his last time in the 4th. Daniels at 2nd, Lovich at 1st. Very good speed in the bases for Missouri. To left field, but it hangs up for Mainers. Missouri scores 1, strands 2. Still Auburn up a pair. Back after a long battle to knock in Colon with 2 outs in the home half of the 5th inning. And there's a strike to Ballou to start things in the 6th inning. Carter Rustad just trying to start an inning without giving up a homer. Each of his 2 innings in relief so far that he has begun, 4th and 5th, have yielded leadoff home runs. One of them to Ballou.
It's been a good day for the Auburn offense. They've come through with hits and some big moments, 3-1 lead, but that last half inning for Missouri to finally get to chase Alsop a little bit and bring in their first run of the day, I think one that they needed.
Missouri nonetheless left 2 runners on. Both teams have stranded 5 across the first 5 innings. At the same time, it's a depleted Auburn bullpen after all the arms used last night in that hectic game. 23 total runs scored. And you wouldn't think Alsop has a whole lot left in him, if any.
90-plus pitches into this. I mean, he's been really good. 1 run is all he's given up on 4 hits, 9 strikeouts. Those are some fantastic numbers, but I'm with you. It hasn't been the most efficient at times. He's thrown a lot of pitches. He's up around that 90 number, so I'm with you. You might bring him out in the 6th, but you might not. I don't know. It's kind of at that line where maybe you just bring in somebody new to start the 6th.
2-2. Ballou pops it up off his hands into shallow left. Colon is there. 1 away. Here's Caden Green. Good breaking ball for a strike. Rustad now getting into that second time through the Auburn card. He came on to get Cooper Weiss for the final out of the 3rd inning and leave the bases loaded. He's faced Weiss and Ballou twice. This is his 2nd time against Green, who is 1 for 2, had a single against Rustad back in the 4th. He slices that into right. Austin comes on, can't get there. Green holds it first after Austin got a piece of it. Couple of hits for Green and 2 trips against Rustad, and he's a 1-out base runner for Auburn. Now Mason Mainers. Right side, past the diving Garcia into right field. Green plays station to station, 2 on, 1 out.
Rustad just hasn't had his best stuff, but I think you give a lot of the credit to this Auburn offense. They are hitting the ball hard off of him, giving up a couple home runs, now on back-to-back pitches, some base hits into right field. First one wasn't hit super hard by Green, but that one by Mainers was roped into right center field.
Eric Guevara settles in, 2 on, 1 out. 9 hits for Auburn already. Guevara has 1 of them, a single his last time off of Rustad. He struck out back in the 3rd against Ian Losey. Rustad's 1-0 pitch. Hits Guevara almost closer to the right shoulder blade. That was way back behind him. And now the top of the order coming up with the bases loaded.
Yeah, it's the last thing you wanted from your 7, 8, 9 hitters if you're Rustad. A pair of singles and a hit by pitch. To bring up to the top of the order, which is hitting the ball well today.
Ball 1 low to Stanfield. Green at 3rd. He had a single. Mainers at 2nd. He had a single. Guevara at 1st after he was hit by a pitch. And Carter Rustad is getting a visit from Jadier Hernandez.
You know, 6 hits given up in 2 2/3 innings. He's just kind of been hit around a little bit. The 2 home runs, obviously, both solo home runs, so the game's still manageable. It's not that Rustad's been bad today. He hasn't. But he's kind of been hit around by this Auburn offense.
Missouri got a big double play to get out of the 5th inning. Smoked into center, base hit. 1 run will score. Mainers gets a wave after Lovich mishandled it in center. It's a 2-run single for Stanfield, and Auburn has blown it open. 5-1 visitors in the 6th inning.
Just miscues that you can't afford to have to bring in another run. Very hard hit ball, straight back up the middle. He's going to score 1 no matter what, but Lovich couldn't come up with it. And aggressive on the bases to send Mainers in as well. Bottom of the order did their job to get on base, and Stanfield at the top did his job to bring in a couple guys.
Through the left side, another base hit for Ike Irish, and it'll score Guevara. Ike Irish has been untouchable in this series. 3 hits today, 3 RBIs. He's driven in 7 in 15 innings this weekend, and it's 6-1 Auburn.
Also has 6 hits on the weekend. The 3 today, 3 yesterday. He's every week has win 2 of 3, and that's obviously still very much in front of Missouri potentially. But where you're at in the season, where you're at in the standings, you almost feel like you had to get all 3 to give yourself a realistic chance to get to Hoover, because next week you're on the road to finish up the regular season in Starkville against Mississippi State. You don't know where you're going to be exactly in the standings. Are you going to be a game back? Are you going to be tied for that final spot? Could you be 2 games back?
And to make matters worse for Missouri, LSU is up 2-1 on Alabama in the 3rd inning, and Ole Miss is up 5-0 on Texas A&M after 2. So everything is going wrong right now for Mizzou. 1-1 to right. Strike 2. On top of that, you don't want to put too much pressure on one guy, but for Carter Rustad to pitch in a game that Missouri doesn't win in a weekend, especially one that Missouri potentially loses in a lopsided fashion. Now, there is a lot of baseball left, and Mizzou came back from a 5-run deficit later in the game than this yesterday. But if Mizzou does lose with Carter Rustad giving up as many runs as he has in this game, it feels like an even bigger blow because he has been such the weapon for Missouri.
Yeah, he came into the game, too, when they were already down. It was only 1-0. He's given up 5 of the runs since he's come in.
Foul territory on the right side, and it leaks out of play. Even if Austin had gotten there, he might have opted not to catch it anyway, because it would have almost certainly scored Stanfield from 3rd and lengthened this Auburn advantage. Missouri really can't afford to let it get any bigger.
And it's not just the amount of runs that he's given up, but he's getting tattooed right now. The ball is hit all over the park, and it's been a lot of hard contact against Rustad today.
Off the corner, 2-2. That's 60 pitches now for Rustad in relief. Caden Jacoby, junior right-hander, is up in Missouri's bullpen. Chop softly to 3rd. Cologne's only play is to 1st. Wright is retired, but Stanfield comes home to score. It's an RBI ground out, and it's 7-1 Auburn. All 7 runs in the last 4 innings, 4 of them in this frame.
They had a big inning last night, scoring 6 runs in the 7th. This might be their big inning today. 4 more, 6-run lead now. They've scored in each of the last 4 innings as well.
Strike 2, McMurray. Mentioning the bullpens, Carson Myers, junior left-hander, had been up in Auburn's pen during that bottom of the 5th when Missouri had some traffic. Would expect he'll be the next man in and potentially to start the bottom half of this inning. Line back to Rustad, who caught it. Carter Rustad fires the ball. Ball 1 to JDR Hernandez. 4, 5, and 6 scheduled. Corona and Cerna to follow against Myers. Hernandez sends it down the right side, foul. Myers in his first season on the Plains after a couple at UAB where he was predominantly a starter last year. Made only one start out of the bullpen for the Blazers. Hernandez stays alive on 1 and 2. His dad, Matt, played college baseball in the SEC, pitched at Tennessee, and was later Auburn's pitching coach for 3 years in the 2000s. And was later head coach at Western Kentucky. Now Carson ended up in Bowling Green. And Carson was twice a representative of Bowling Green in the Little League World Series, 2015 and 16. Sliced into right. Ballou is there in front of the track. One away. So you could say that Carson...
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. You're around the program from such a young age. Not just around the community, around the school, but quite literally around the program quite a bit as a kid, and now as a college student you get to throw for that same program. That's pretty cool stuff.
2 balls, no strikes on Danny Corona. He's reached twice in as many trips, and he's out ahead 3-0 on Myers.
3 balls, no strikes. 3 balls, no strikes. No strikes. No strikes. 4.
There's a strike.
That's inside. Come on, Blue.
Corona thought that was ball 4, but notably did not toss the bat toward the Missouri dugout as he did last weekend against South Carolina. That ultimately led to a timer violation. Now he has ball 4. That turned what he thought was a walk on a 3-1 count into a strikeout on only 1 pitch. Second Auburn walk. There have also been a couple of hit batsmen. And it brings up Mateo Cerna. He and then Matt Garcia behind him, barring a double play, will take their first at bats from the right side this afternoon. The opposite of how it went last night, where Bowen, the starter, was left-handed, had those 2 batting right. This time they switch from the left side to the right side here in the 6th. Nothing in 2 on Cerna. Strike 3 call. Myers gets his first strikeout. 2 away now in the 6th.
10 total on the day for Auburn pitching. It's right over the heart of the plate. And I think Cerna might have been thinking off speed or something, but it's right over the heart of the plate, and he knew it.
There's the 10th strikeout for Auburn. Unfortunately, only 9 for Olsen. Myers gets the 10. Corona on the move. Pitch outside. Throw is on the bag. Corona is out. Missouri trying to steal, down 7-1 in the 6th. If Ole Miss and LSU both hang on to their respective leads. That's tattooed by Weiss, right center, and way out of here. Another leadoff home run for Auburn against Carter Rustad. He has begun 4 innings on the mound. In 3 of them, Auburn has had a leadoff solo shot. Ballou, Irish, and now Weiss is 8th of the year.
I think Auburn's doing everything they can to make sure a repeat of yesterday doesn't happen. The 5-run lead going into the 7th. Missouri scores 6 runs over their final 6 outs to come from behind and win the game on a day where Auburn scored 11 runs. Pitching has been good today for Auburn. Defense has been good behind them, but the offense is what's leading the way. 3 solo home runs now to lead off innings, like you said. 8 runs for Auburn today. 5 consecutive innings of scoring at least 1 run as well.
One ball, 1 strike on Ballou. But Missouri, barring a miracle comeback in this game, is going to have essentially no margin for error left going into tomorrow, including the help that they need.
It was already pretty minimal coming into the day today, but you lose today, and then Ole Miss and LSU, who you need to lose, if they both win, you're looking at potentially needing to win out the final 4 games of the regular season, and 3 of them would be on the road in Starkville.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Ballou. Got a piece, and that came up uncomfortably on Hernandez. Meanwhile, for Auburn, of course, in the literal sense, there's nothing to play for, because Auburn knows there will be no trip to Hoover for the SEC tournament. At the same time, there are still victories out there. Ballou is hit by the pitch on 1-2, and he reaches. Whether they're moral ones to try to just to establish some positive feelings going to the offseason, which is not nothing. Butch Thompson talked about the need to use this and learn from this season and use it to galvanize them going forward, or it's individual wins for players having good performances to set themselves up for the offseason, or whether it's something like, how about winning a series, not having to go into the offseason saying we didn't win a series the whole year.
Yeah, they only won game 1 of a series once this season. That came against Tennessee before they got run ruled the next 2 days by the Vols. And so you're in a really good position right now in the top of the 7th, up 7 runs, that, okay, let's finish this one out. Let's not give it away like we did last night. And you go into game 3 with a chance to win a series, which just hasn't happened for them very much this year.
Strike 1 to Green.
And there's so many young guys that play on this Auburn team, too. A lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores, where there are wins out there, like you alluded to. What can you do the final couple weeks of the regular season to have yourself feeling good at the end of the year and to carry some momentum into next season?
Snap throw behind Ballou at first. He's back. Driven to left center. Lovich goes back again to the track, to the wall. He leaps. It's gone. Another Auburn home run. The power surge that started Sunday at home against Ole Miss, continued Tuesday in Atlanta against Georgia Tech, has taken full hold this weekend in Columbia. Green's 3rd of the year, and it's 10-1 Auburn in the 7th.
A 4-home run day for this Auburn offense. 3-hit day for Caden Green himself. I mean, this Auburn offense is clicking right now. And again, we kind of said we're not trying to make this into moral victory.
Auburn in the 7th inning. Caden Jacoby out of the Missouri bullpen.
Yeah, making it just his 9th appearance of the season. A guy that not throwing in a high leverage situation here, but Carter Roostead just didn't have his stuff today. Gave up 9 runs since he came in the 3rd inning in relief. And at this point, if you're Missouri, and you came back from down 5 runs in the 7th yesterday, this one's a little bit more, down 9. But at this point, I think you're trying to get through the day today and make sure you go after a series win tomorrow.
Certainly Missouri will need tomorrow's win to have any hope left for Hoover. Auburn will be hoping, after a lot of close shaves, to finally get a series win in the SEC. This would be a 5th SEC victory this year for the Blue and Orange Tigers. Mentioned earlier, Missouri fans might need 4 screens right now because of the 3 baseball games, including this one, that affect the Tigers. And then with Missouri softball in the SEC championship game at the moment down at Auburn against Florida. Well, if you are a Mizzou fan that pulled up 4 screens, bless your heart, because not a single one is going well for you. Back to the mound past Jacoby. Culbertson playing up the middle, and the shortstop takes care of Mainers, 1 away. LSU on top, as is Ole Miss. It's now 6-1, and Florida leads Missouri 4-1 in the 4th inning of the SEC softball title game. But none more lopsided than this one.
Just got out of hand in a hurry. I mean, just a 4-run 6th and a 3-run 7th so far. 7 runs the last couple innings, but even before that, they were down 3-1. Auburn has scored at least 1 run in 5 consecutive innings after not scoring any of the first 2 innings. This Auburn offense is just rolling right now.
One ball, 1 strike on Guevara.
Really productive weekend for him at the bottom of the order. 2 hits yesterday, 1 today. He's been on base twice because of a hit by pitch.
We talked yesterday about his return in just 5.5 months from a torn ACL and fall practice back in October. Butch Thompson said, yeah, I mean, he's been healthy enough to play. Obviously, he had to get cleared all the way back in March. So from a physical standpoint, he's getting there. Guevara waves and misses at the Jacoby slider for the 2nd out, but there's still rust to knock off. Obviously, that's not surprising. Well, I'm wondering what kind of Guevara Butch Thompson expects to see next year without rust, because I haven't seen a whole lot of rust this weekend.
Yeah, I think there's some really high expectations for that guy if that's the kind of comments you're getting from him. Really productive 9-hole hitter, and just really impressive to come back that quickly, be effective. The plan was when he tore his ACL on October 5th, the training staff said, yeah, this is a redshirt year. I think everybody would have expected that, right? That makes a lot of sense. But then they said he just dominated the rehab process. They came back to coach sometime in March and said he might be ready soon to play. And sure enough, he was. By the end of March, he was making his debut, and by early April, he was in the starting lineup.
Everybody got your hand.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Stanfield. Rope toward left. That'll be too far for Daniels, and it 2-hops the wall. Stanfield took a tumble around first, and as a result, he has to hold with a wipeout single. And to make matters worse, he did it in front of his own dugout. I'm sure he's not hearing anything.
Yeah, when you're up 10-1 and everybody's in a happy mood, they're going to let you have it. He got out of the box quickly, but stumbles right there. And like you said, any good teammates, any good friends, they're not letting him hear the end of that.
I wonder if we might get the crime scene outline during BP
yes.
tomorrow, put down in tape right about there. 3-hopper to second base, handled by Garcia. We're into the stretch. Auburn puts up 3 runs in the 7th. The visitors have scored. Myers back to work against the bottom third of Missouri's order. Strike 1 to Matt Garcia. Drew Culbertson scheduled to follow. And Justin Colon in the 9-hole. Garcia loops it over third. A base hit, dunked into short left. He holds it first with a leadoff single. First hit for Garcia, who had struck out in each of his 2 at-bats prior to that one.
It's going to take a lot when you're down 9 runs this late in the game, but you got to like the fight if you're Missouri. Not going to go away easily.
I think it's safe to say the stop sign is up for Missouri runners. I imagine that's what that is. So maybe the steal sign wasn't exactly on for Danny Corona when he was gunned out to finish the 6th inning with Missouri trailing 7-1 at that time. Really no reason to be stealing bases trailing by a substantial margin late in the game. It's going to take a lot of hits either way, or at least a lot of base runners, I suppose, with all the free passes we've seen in this series. 1-0 to Culbertson is instead a check on Garcia. Culbertson has struck out twice himself, both swinging. Well hit right center. Ballou doesn't see it. Stanfield thankfully does. And that's the first out. Ballou has handled right field really well for his first trip to Columbia in the sunshine, but he had no chance at that one. Never saw it. Luckily for him, Stanfield had it all the way.
Only need one of them to see where it's at. Stanfield did, made the play.
One on, one out for Cologne, who has grounded out and singled. He scored Missouri's only run back in the 5th. Now, we've talked good amount this weekend already about our conversation with Butch Thompson prior to the series starting on Friday, and about his outlook and the positivity that he was trying to take away. Not excessively so. It's not as though he's not acknowledging how disappointing, how frustrating this season has been for Auburn, but emphasizing how much those 2018 and 2021 frustrations, different as they were, galvanized the 2 Omaha runs that Auburn has had in his tenure. Thought it was clear based on that conversation that he had the vision for what it was going to take. Some of those things are underway. Back pick attempts. Garcia's back. Major renovations to the ballpark. $30+ million. Those are expected to all be finalized for next season. Adding a bunch of premium seats. I asked him what other notes he's been making from this season, that things that he wants to take away or change or use to their advantage next year. And he said, well, Nate, if you've been thinking about giving me $2 million, now would be the time. It's obviously the transfer portal game has changed.
Yeah, transfer portal, NIL, it's a different ball game than it was even 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Swinging a miss. Myers gets the strikeout of Cologne for the 2nd out. Brings up the top of the order in Brock Daniels. The other thing is, and I try not to tell fans how they should or shouldn't feel, especially if their programs are struggling, in particular when a lot of times those fans have a level of context that is difficult for you and I to get to. But I know there are at least some people in the Auburn world who are so frustrated, so disappointed by this season that they're talking about whether Butch Thompson should come back at all. Daniels ropes it down the right field line, a base hit. Garcia heads to 3rd. Ballou cuts it off, and that'll hold Daniels to a single and stop Garcia from scoring. In my mind, it borders on disrespect to consider that a man who took over this program when they hadn't been to Omaha in 20 years and has taken them to 5 regionals, 3 supers, and 2 College World Series, including 2 in the last 5 years, would be ever not given at least a year to turn things around, especially considering all the close losses, the injuries, just the way things haven't gone the way they expected. To me, Butch Thompson clearly takes everything that's happened in this program to heart and has a plan for how he sees this going forward. And any Auburn fan who's already forgotten 2022 probably should go back and watch the tape.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job. And winning in this league is not easy, and he's pretty consistently done that. This was a team that was preseason in the top 25. Even the first couple weeks of the season, they were ranked in the top 25. So there were high expectations. So I get the frustration. I get when you're upset when your team's 4-21 in SEC play. I completely understand that. But this is a program when he's been at the helm that has won a lot of games and done a lot of winning with him in charge.
One of a couple of successful SEC head coaches. Kevin O'Sullivan's the other one who comes to mind, who had never been a head coach at the Division I level before their current job. O'Sullivan, an assistant at Clemson. Slovich waves and misses 2-2, and Thompson, of course, at Mississippi State for 7 seasons after prior assistant stints both at Auburn and at Georgia. So he'd been in the SEC for close to a decade and a half. Only one prior season as a head coach at Jefferson State in the junior college ranks back in the 90s.
And they've got a good freshman recruiting class coming in next year, and that's something that Coach Thompson was talking about with us yesterday before Game 1 as well, that it hasn't been the year they want, but they're going to fight to finish this thing the way that it should be finished this year on a high note. And then they've got a lot of people, especially pitching-wise, coming in next year that they are thrilled about.
Thompson will hit the 300-win plateau sometime next spring. Even with the way this year has gone, he's still won close to 57% of his games since taking over the program. Payoff to Lovich. Spikes in and gets away. That'll allow Garcia to score. No RBI for Lovich because Garcia came home on the wild pitch rather than the walk. Missouri pulls it from 9-8. Still 2 on now for Trevor Austin.
Well, little by little. I mean, that's what you got to do if you're Missouri. You come into this inning, you're down 9 runs, but continuing to piece things together. A couple singles, a walk, you get a run across. It's not unfathomable. We watched what happened last night going to the bottom of the 7th. It was a little bit closer than it was today. It was a 5-run game instead of a 9-run game like it was today. But again, 6 runs, 2 in the 7th, 4 in the 8th. It's what Missouri needed to pull it out by 1 run.
Austin struck out looking in the 1st. He was hit by a pitch in the 4th, lined out to left field in the 5th. That stranded a couple Missouri base runners. At the time, it was a 3-1 Auburn lead. Felt like maybe Mizzou had found a foothold in the game. And the ball was really well hit by Austin. Had it been to either side of Mainers in left field and gotten down, could have scored one or even both of the guys out there. Maybe made it a game, but ultimately this Auburn offense has been too good, too consistent. Scored in 5 straight innings, including 7 runs in the last 2. One o'clock Central, our first pitch tomorrow, and what looks like it's going to be a rubber match. Full count, runners will be moving. Myers had to labor through this inning. Pitch 25 of the 7th coming up.
It's a really good at-bat by Trevor Austin. So Jackson Lovich have something similar his last time up, where he fouled off 7 pitches, had a 9-pitch at bat that he singled on.
Strike 3 called. Austin goes down looking. Myers.com, 7 from the SEC, plus Oklahoma, who will join the league next year. Opposite field single for Wright, who has just abused the right field grass so far in this game. He has 3 hits, all to the right side. He's also driven in a run in his 5 trips, and he's aboard to lead off in the 8th. Auburn, with a couple of runs, could set themselves up for a run rule victory that would save at least 3 outs on their bullpen. Caden Jacoby working again against the cleanup man, Cooper McMurray. You know, I wonder if Omaha, in the College World Series specifically, leads all major sporting events in America in terms of like being an annual family tradition. People who go to it as just whether their team's there or not.
I would think so.
Either that or they're Florida fans, so their team's always there.
Well, that helps. But I would think that might be, right? I mean, centralized location, that helps. You know, other sporting events
Midsummer,
happen.
kids out of school.
Yeah, kids out of school. Other sporting events happen every year, but they usually change, you know, locations where they're at.
And also, especially just to go to, you know, a couple of games when you're in town, affordable as compared to, say, trying to go to the Final Four, let alone the, you know, the Super Bowl every year. Three and one. You know, it's also around Father's Day, too. So I bet you there's some
dads that want to go watch baseball.
Maybe some begrudging family traditions. To the right side into the shift. Garcia wants the lead runner. Doesn't get him. Oh, they called him out. That's going to be looked at.
Yeah.
Because Culbertson was clearly off the bag.
He had to jump to get the ball. Foot wasn't on the bag.
That's an easy challenge.
Previous play is under review.
Second base umpire Zach Neff made the call, and the throw does beat right to the bag, but I'm going to call it before we see any replays. I guarantee you he is safe.
It's the Gator guarantee.
Can't really tell from that angle. There we go. Get that right hand. Oh, you can't see the right hand there
Can't see
either.
it either.
Gonna have to get it from the back side where you can actually be sure.
You can't see the hand or the foot there.
Which is really working in Missouri's favor right now because the call on the field went Mizzou's way. We don't have a clear angle from the third base side or from center field, so Mizzou might be saved here by the fact that you just can't really see Carter Wright's right hand as it gets to the bag.
This is tough because the leg of Wright blocks both Culbertson's foot and his own hand. The call in the field was out.
The call of out stands.
Wow. So not confirmed, but does stand because there's no angle to prove otherwise.
I think this is the best we can give you.
Zoomed in high home angle here.
Oh, to me, that's probably enough, but I can understand why that would be a little too grainy. And maybe the Birmingham office would say we're going to stick with what the call was on the field. Give credit to Culbertson because that's not an easy play to go up and secure the ball and still make sure he comes down right on the bag. Bounces in 2-0. That's, I think, the first official failure of the Gator guarantee on the air. This is a tough. This is a tough one for me. I'm having a tough time taking it.
There's a first for everything. You've never been wrong before.
Well, I didn't say that.
And now you have.
I did not say that. 2-1. We appreciate you being with us this whole weekend long. Auburn has built this considerable advantage today. And sets up an interesting game 3. 1 o'clock Central tomorrow. Looped into shallow left along the line. Dumped in for a base hit. McMurray stops at second. So that could turn out to be a big call for Missouri that went their way at second base, if for no other reason than, potentially trying to extend this game to a 9th inning. A couple of Auburn runs here would set up the visitors to get a run rule victory in the bottom half. And if not for that call, probably it's already 11-2 with 2 on and nobody out. Certainly the bases would be loaded.
I was going to say, worst case for Auburn, you're looking at nobody out and bases loaded.
One and one on Ballou. Driven down the left field line, but he sliced it foul. Meanwhile, in the 4th inning in Oxford, Ole Miss has stretched it out to a 9-1 lead over Texas A&M. So, assuming no miraculous comebacks either for the Tigers here or for the Aggies in Oxford, Mizzou will drop to 3 games back of Ole Miss with 4 to play. So, can essentially rule the Rebels safe. Ballou was hit by the pitch. Late call given by the home plate umpire, John Brammer. And they're into the 6th inning in Tuscaloosa, where LSU and Alabama are tied up at 2. So that's Missouri's only hope, really, is that LSU ends up losing to Alabama and Mizzou's deficit stays at 1, as you see hitting with runners on and in scoring position today for these 2 teams.
Just direct opposites of what they were yesterday. Missouri was so good with clutch hitting. Today just hasn't been the case. And Auburn, meanwhile, has. They have come through time after time today. 471 with runners on base, and then when you extend them into scoring position, still hitting 455.
0-2 on Caden Green. On top of that, they've hit 4 homers.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for success, certainly. But to illustrate just how harmful this loss would be as it stands for Mizzou. Green to the left side and through. That'll score McMurray. Weiss waved around third. No throw. A 2-run single for Green, who continues his onslaught this afternoon. A 4th hit for Green. 3rd and 4th RBIs. And he makes it a 10-run Auburn lead.
What a day for Caden Green. Last 4 at-bats, 3 singles and a home run. And this one could potentially be the game winner. Puts them up 10 runs. They're able to get 3 outs. That's a run rule. Finishes in 8 innings instead of 9.
Mason Mainers guys the first one into left. Daniels there. 2 gone. But to the point of how much this hurts Missouri's chances at Hoover, even if LSU loses in Tuscaloosa today, and Missouri stays, quote-unquote, 1 game back of that 12th and final SEC tournament spot, in reality, it's more like 2 games because, in fact, it literally is 2 games in the functional sense because LSU has the tiebreaker. So Missouri would still be effectively 2 games back of that final spot with 4 to play. And LSU will host Ole Miss the final weekend of the SEC regular season. Now, wacky things have happened for Missouri and Starkville over the years. But a sweep, when you got to have a sweep, probably a bridge too far. 2-strike pitch to Guevara. Fisted into right center. Austin over, shading his eyes, and the inning is over as well. Auburn scores to score a run here. Auburn could finish things up an inning early. 1-1.
Been a tough day for Hernandez, 0 for 3. You do have Danny Corona on the on-deck circle, who has gotten on base all 3 times today, including a single and a pair of walks.
To short, Weiss gobbles it. Hernandez away. And of course, just as soon as you say that,
Right.
Danny Corona pulled back for a pinch hitter. Caden Beer will get a chance.
Why not?
That was the Reed guarantee and
Yeah,
how it went. You're just doing it in solidarity with
That's pretty commonly how the Reed guarantee works.
Freshman Beer out of CBC High in suburban St. Louis. Going to get his first action since the Tennessee series a couple of weeks ago. He was starting just about every game for Missouri through April, including all 3 in Knoxville. Won just 1 out of 9 in that series. One in which Missouri was swept but lost a pair of 1-run games Saturday and Sunday to Mizzou alum Tony Vitello and his Vols. Kerrick Jackson was really frustrated. Felt like it was a series Missouri should have won. Forget getting just 1 victory. Weiss again, a low arm slot for the second out. And I'm kind of enjoying that crew chief Michael Carroll has, I guess, unintentionally left his microphone on since that last review, so we get to hear him confirm the out.
Makes our job a little easier.
Yeah, I don't even need to say it. All right, we'll make a deal right now. If there's another ground out, I won't need to say it. Well, I guess that would be the final out of the game, so I would sort of be abdicating my professional responsibility there. So never mind. Should have done it on the last one.
Don't have to wait for the signal, though.
That's
You
true.
say out, boom.
Ball 1 to Juju Stevens off the bench in place of Cerna. Stevens, the junior from Woodbridge, Connecticut. Made 19 starts last year, has not been on the field nearly as much this season. Did have an AB on a base hit against South Carolina in the Friday series opener last weekend here at Taylor Stadium, but hasn't started a game in over a month. Just low, 3-1. Stevens is the last hope for Missouri to keep the game alive. And he reaches. Matt Garcia coming up. Make sure you stay with us after the final out. We will talk to Ike Irish, who has just obliterated the baseball in this series. Another 3 hits, including a homer. 3 runs batted in today. 6 hits, 3 of them for extra bases, 2 homers, 7 RBIs in 2 games in this series. Garcia 1 for 3. Couple of strikeouts, a single as last time. They say the last out's the toughest to get. Maybe that's true even
Could be.
at 12-2, going for a run rule. One ball, 2 strikes. Certainly a setback for Kerrick Jackson and his Tigers. Myers finishes Garcia with a strikeout, and Auburn run rules Missouri 12-2. Ball 1 to Jadier Hernandez. 4, 5, and 6 scheduled. Corona and Cerna to follow against Myers. Hernandez sends it down the right side, foul. Myers in his first season on the Plains after a couple at UAB where he was predominantly a starter last year. Made only one start out of the bullpen for the Blazers.
Whoa! Inside and low.
Hernandez stays alive on 1 and 2. His dad, Matt, played college baseball in the SEC, pitched at Tennessee, and was later Auburn's pitching coach for 3 years in the 2000s. And was later head coach at Western Kentucky. How Carson ended up in Bowling Green. And Carson was twice a representative of Bowling Green in the Little League World Series, 2015 and 16. Sliced into right. Ballou is there in front of the track, one away. So you could say that Carson